Python dictionaries are another way of storing data in Python in variables that we need to access later. They, like lists, they can store multiple values, but the way that we access them is different. Dictionaries use key-value pairs. So in a dictionary, you will have a key, which is just a word, just a string value, and that will be associated with some value. That value could be another string, integer, array, any kind of Python object. So let's take a look. I'm a believer in learning by doing, so let's get into it. We'll work from the interactive interpreter right now. So I've got PowerShell open. I'll launch Python. And here is a line of code. We're going to create a dictionary called target. And this target is going to have several key and value pairs. So just notice, well, this line of code is really spread over 5 lines. So the Python is not going to run until we finish that last curly brace and hit enter. So let's do it. So target equals open curly brace. So with lists, we use the square curly brace. Here we're using that squiggly curly brace. And when I hit enter, notice my prompt will change. It says ... That is Python's way of saying, yeah, you're not finished writing your code yet. This code is incomplete, so get to work, get your job done. So I will have 3 different key value pairs. The first key here is going to be called name, and I'm putting that in quotes. Your keys will always be in quotes here. And then a colon. So associated with this key is the value, Acme Tech University. I'm going to put a comma here. And on the next line, I'll have my next key value pair, the IP for an IP address. And I'll put 251.22.25.932. I realize that is not a valid IP address. That's intentional. I don't want anyone actually using this as a target. And comma and enter. I still got those ellipses there telling me that my code's not done. So I'm going to put another key there called reason in quotation marks, colon. And the reason, this is our target, it is spite. I don't need a comma here because I'm done entering my key value pairs, but I'll hit enter and put that last curly brace. I could have put this all on one line, but I think it's just better style to not have one gigantic line of code. Now when I hit enter here, Python will run all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code. And what happened? It worked. We can trust that it worked. Let's print that target. Print target. And now here Python's showing it on one long line. I see those curly braces. That tells me it's a dictionary. And I've got key value pairs, 3 pairs. So my keys are name, IP, and reason. The values associated with those keys are Acme Tech University, 251.22.25.932, and the value of spite. So here, all my values are strings. We can add a new key here if we want to. Target. So target is the name of my dictionary variable. In square brackets here, that's how we access elements in an existing dictionary. I'll put the name of a key, and I'll use single quotes this time. Single quotes work perfectly fine. So contact name does not exist as one of the keys right now in my dictionary, but I'll create it with the value called Alice. So I'm assigning the value Alice to the dictionary with the key contact name. So if I hit enter, it's not going to tell me anything. I didn't ask it to print anything out. But now if I print my target, we should see that our dictionary grew by one key value pair. So at the end there, I see contact name, Alice. So one thing about dictionaries, the order doesn't matter. And you can't guarantee that they're going to appear in any particular order. It's not like a list where there is an order, like index 0 is always going to be index 0. My name key could technically appear after IP. That's totally fine. It can happen. So now we've got 4 keys. Another way to create a dictionary is just to make it empty when we start. So I'll make a new dictionary variable called new underscore target. Get my mouse out of the way. New target equals open curly brace, closing curly brace. They got to come in pairs. And I hit enter and it works. If I try printing new target now, I just get those curly braces. So Python knows this is a dictionary, but it's an empty dictionary. Now I can create all of those key value pairs one at a time. So new underscore target equals those. I just recreated it. Sorry, I looked at the wrong line of code. I just overwrote that variable. Not a problem. New underscore target brackets, single quote or double quote, name equals other tech university. And I'll say new underscore target IP equals another random IP address. Yeah, I didn't copy the code exactly. That's fine. I just picked a different IP address, not to worry. New target, make sure I spell it correctly. I'll put double quotes here just for funsies. Reason equals love. So we wanted to attack our other target out of spite. Here, it's out of love. Here's where I will do something different. New target, the key is going to be color, colors, plural, equals. Now, instead of assigning a string as the value here, I'll make it an array. A list. Red and blue. This is totally fine. The value can be any different data type here. That works. It can even be an integer. So if I say new underscore target priority equals 3, it's just a number, that's totally fine also. So now I will print new underscore target. And did it do what I wanted it to do? Yeah, so I see the curly braces wrapping the outside. I've got my key value pairs here. They're all separated by a comma. The keys and values are separated by that colon character. I see that colors is a list, and I see that priority is an integer. So now that we've saved that data, how do we actually get the data out? We might not want to just print the whole object, but we can access individual keys in this dictionary. So let's look at the target. Get my mouse out of the way again. Target, bracket. So instead of accessing by a numerical index, here we'll access it by the name of the key using square brackets. So that tells me, yeah, the target IP address is 251.22.25.932. I can also just hit the up arrow key, change IP to name, or change it to reason. Reason is spite. So that one variable target can contain a lot of information. We could have hundreds of different keys or thousands of different keys with different associated values. So it's one way of keeping track of a lot of information with key value pairs. Just note that the keys are case sensitive, and if you try to access something that does not exist, you get an error. Key error. Does not exist. There's no key in our dictionary. We do have a key called name, but just note, if I do capital name, that key does not exist. So the keys are case sensitive. Everything in Python is case sensitive, unless you work hard to make it not case sensitive. But like using to lower or to upper to compare two different strings. But here in the dictionary, yeah, make sure you got to keep track of the case. That's why a lot of people use lowercase all the time. So let's take a look at target again. So target, my key is contact name. I'm going to assign this to Bob. And if I access it again, just without assigning anything, contact underscore name, it'll tell me, yeah, it's Bob. But I'll hit the up arrow key. If I change that to Eve, did it work? Yeah, it worked. But now if I look at the target accessing the contact name, it says Eve now. So I just overwrote the old value with the new value for that specific key, and it works just fine. Now let's say you populated your dictionary, but you don't need some of that information anymore. You can get rid of it. And there's a couple of different ways that you can get rid of that. So we do have target IP. I'll just check that that does exist. There it is, target.ip. We could get rid of that two different ways. And there's a slight variation in the way that it works. If I run target.pop, we're running the pop method now, but I still need to put the key in quotation marks, pop IP. Notice what happened. I see the value 251.22.25.932. But if I print my target now, where's IP? I do not have the key named IP anymore. I popped it off. It's like, I don't know, popping a grape off the vine and putting it in your mouth, chewed up, swallow, it's gone. You consumed it. You enjoyed that value of that grape, but now it doesn't exist on the vine anymore. Notice we have a reason here. Let's say we just want to get rid of it, make it disappear. It's like we're pointing our magic wand at that grape on the vine, and we're going to cast our spell, and it's just going to disappear. We can use the delete function. So we can del space target reason. This is different syntax than we usually use in Python, like del, then a space. It is what it is. All right. Notice I did not see the value associated with the reason in this output here because it was not returned. Delete just does one thing, it just deletes. But if I print targets now, what do I see? I see that reason no longer exists. So both pop, the pop method, and del to delete get rid of key value pairs in our dictionary. The only difference is that pop gives us the value first before it actually gets rid of it. So these dictionaries are really useful, really important, used in Python. I know we're talking a lot about the fundamentals of the language right now, and it's necessary when we're getting started. Eventually, we're going to combine all of these ingredients to create more complex programs. It's kind of like cooking. It's like we have a lesson on what is sugar, what is butter, what is flour. And if you're looking at all these ingredients in isolation, it's like, well, okay, I've got like a cup of flour, but what am I supposed to do with it? It's not really that useful. I can just make a mess of things and, you know, the flour looks nice and I can put it in a mixing bowl, but I still haven't made anything with it. Eventually, we're going to start combining all of these things, so it's important to have a strong understanding of these language fundamentals so that when we start writing more complicated programs, we can understand what our code is actually doing. So I would encourage you, open up Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. There we go. And go into the dictionary practice. See if you can solve some of those challenges. So if we look at dictionaries here, initializing dictionaries, empty dictionaries, accessing things inside dictionaries, see if you can solve these coding challenges. So here the code asks me, create a dictionary named address that has the following key value pairs. City of Marquette, State Michigan, zip 49855, population 43, using those data types. So zip code should be a string because we don't do math on zip codes, but population should be a number because we might want to do math on the population somehow. So how would I do that? Pause the video, close the video, go ahead and do this exercise. Visual Studio Code's nice because it gives me those curly braces, the opening and closing pair. I'll hit enter. It indents it for me, which is perfectly fine. But to create the city of Marquette, I would put in quotes, city, colon, quotes, Marquette. Should probably capitalize Marquette properly. Show some respect for the city. State, Michigan, and I won't do the rest. I'll let you do that. How would I print the value of the city? I would have to print address city. So I'm not going to do everything, but I'll run this code. Let's see if this works so far. Should work. Yep. So all I see in the output is Marquette because that's the only value that I actually printed. So play around with those sample problems and see if you can work with dictionaries to both create dictionaries, also access those items, delete items, all those kind of fundamentals.